The third grade book for the Teach Children to Save program is called Less Than Zero. This, because it's for third grade, does get into some concepts that are a little bit more advanced. You can talk about saving, spending, saving goals, and of course, positive and negative numbers, and you can also introduce the idea of interest when you save in a bank, in a savings institution. In your envelope, you should find a copy of this book, the lesson plan that you will be able to follow, and also you'll find a transparency of this number line, and you'll also find this graph. The graph is something that you will leave with the teacher to use at a later date. We don't use it during your lesson, but there is a follow-up activity for the teacher so that she or he can reinforce what you have been teaching the children when you are there. The other thing that's very important for you to do is to bring enough pennies so that each child in the class will have a penny. So I would think probably about 30 or 35 pennies. You won't leave them with the children, you will collect them when you're finished, but they do need them to do the activity. And so you would introduce yourself and say, "Good morning, boys and girls. My name is Miss Jones, and I'm a banker. I really like working in a bank. It's lots of fun to meet people and to help people because banks are there to help people, to make them have a safe place to keep their money." You could ask if any of them have savings accounts and talk about what a savings account is. And boys and girls, today I'm going to read to you a story called Less Than Zero. It's about a little penguin. His name is Perry, and he wants something very, very badly. And when you want something very, very badly, you usually have to save for it, right? Because things cost money. And so Perry is going to save his money. And you can see that he's at the store looking at all these scooters that you can scoot around on the ice for. And how much do they cost? They cost 9 clams. Well, where Perry lives, clams are like money. Just like we use dollars and nickels and dimes and pennies, Perry uses clams. And in order to buy one of these scooters, he needs 9 clams. So let's see how Perry does about saving to get his scooter. All of Perry's friends had ice scooters. They could zip to school and zoom to the ice rink. Fuzzy could do figure eights. Baldy could even do flips. Perry wanted a scooter too, but his dad said that Perry would have to save 9 clams to buy one for himself. "And I don't have a clam to my name," Perry moaned. "Not one single clam." So he's pretty sad. And so at this point, you're going to put up on the overhead on the overhead projector, this copy of the number line. And each child will also receive a copy of the number line, and each child will receive a penny. And on your transparency on the overhead projector, you'll say to the children, "Now how much did Perry have when he started?" And he just said on this page, "I don't have a clam to my name." So we're going to put that penny at 0 on the number line. And then you'll do a little practice with the children and say, "Okay, if Perry were to get 2 more clams, would we move the penny to the right or to the left?" That's correct. When he gets more money, we move the penny to the right. When he gets less money, we move it to the left. So if Perry gets a clam, we move it 1 space to the right. If he loses a clam, we move it 1 space to the left. If he gets 2 clams, we move it 2 spaces to the right. And if he loses 3 clams, we move it 3 spaces to the left. But we must start at 0 because that's how much Perry had to start with. And then you continue reading. On Monday morning, Perry's mom said, "I'll pay you 4 clams to trim the ice in front of the house." "That's hard work," said Perry. "And that's a lot of clams," said his mom. And Perry trimmed the ice all afternoon. And so again, we're going to say, look at our number line. Our penny is at 0, but Perry's mom gave him 4 clams. So which direction will we move our penny? We'll move it to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So we can see that Perry now has 4 clams. He's well on his way to getting that scooter. How many more clams does he need? He needs 5 more clams. And then it talks about how Perry makes a graph. At the end of the day, Perry had 4 clams. He picked up a pad of paper and decided to make a graph to keep track of it. He wrote down Sunday and Monday on his graph. Starting at 0, he went up 4 clams. to show how much he has. And he says, wow, I've gone from 0 to 4 clams in one day. So he's well on his way to getting that scooter. But let's see what happens next. On Tuesday morning, Perry's friend Fuzzy said, do you want to go to the ice circus? It costs 5 clams. The ice circus had seal acrobats and polar bear clowns and giant snow cones. Perry wanted to go more than anything. But I only have 4 clams, he said to Fuzzy. I can loan you a clam until next week, Fuzzy said. The ice circus was fantastic. So Perry borrowed 1 clam from his friend. So now he looks at his graph again. But before we do that, let's take a look at the number line. He was at 4 clams. It cost 5 clams to go to the circus. So he had to use up his 4 clams, 1, 2, 3, 4, and borrow a clam from Fuzzy, which now takes him to -1, a -1. Let's see what Perry says about that. When Perry got home, he took out his pad of paper. He spent his 4 clams plus 1 more from Fuzzy. He wrote Tuesday at the top of the graph. Then he counted down 5 lines to show the clams that he had spent to go to the circus. He wrote -1 below the 0 line. Then he made a big dot below Tuesday. Gosh, thought Perry, I went from 4 clams to -1. That's even less than 0. So how can something be less than 0? Well, if we look at our number line, Perry had 4 clams. He spent his 4 clams and 1 more that he didn't even have. So now he has even less than 0 because he has to pay back Fuzzy the 1 clam in order to be back to 0. At the end of ice skating practice the next day, he wanted to get some fishy treats. His friend said, I can loan you 2 clams. And so he borrows 2 more clams. So what do you think? Now he goes from -1 to -3. Poor Perry, he's not doing very well. He says, now I am 3 clams less than 0. And so you continue reading the book to the boys and girls, and they continue moving their penny back and forth on the number line. And you can move your penny back and forth on the overhead projector. In fact, if you want to, you can have a student come up to the front and move the penny for you. They do like to help out. And so they move it back and forth until you get to the end of the story. And let's finish it up and I'll tell you how it ends. Perry loses some clams, and then he finds some clams, and then his neighbor hires him to do some shoveling so that he can earn some clams. It was Sunday again, and the fishy treats truck was open for business. Get your fishy fries here, said the sale, only 3 clams. Do you want some, Fuzzy? I can loan you some clams, said Baldy. No way, said Perry. I already had 4 clams less than 0 that I owe to Mr. Spike until I can pay back from shoveling his snow. But I do have my cool new scooter and a cool new job because Mr. Spike lent him the money to get his scooter, but he's got to work it off by shoveling snow. And so in this book we have several concepts that we're interested in. Saving, borrowing, spending. We have to tell the children that saving means putting your money aside for later. Borrowing means getting money from somebody else to use now, but you have to pay them back later. And spending means using your money now. And we all have choices that we can make. We can choose to spend, we can choose to save, or we can choose to borrow. But we have to remember that we have to be responsible when we borrow because we have to pay the money back. And when you save, boys and girls, you can save in a piggy bank or in your drawer, but you can also take your money to a bank and open up a savings account. You can come in with your mom or your dad or a grown-up and open a savings account. And your money will always be safe and it will be there when you want it. So thanks for participating in Teach Children to Save and reading to the children about how you can have less than 0.